Okay, welcome back to my live stream of One Night Comes ReVamp. We are on the home stretch of the base game. We're gonna finish it today, and then next week we will do the extras. So we have been solving a mystery about attacks on the village of Lunaris. And we killed the creature that was actually killing people. But it turns out there's someone controlling the creature, and we confronted Harry, the basically our boss. And we pretended to work with him, much to the dismay of August, our enforcer. I guess you could say they're our handler, but so obviously, if you lie by omission, the end result is when what happens is different. But if you outright lie to Harry, you're convincing enough that August goes to your love interest and ask whoever it is to try to talk sense into you. In this case, the love interest is Omen. So anyway, I visit August first thing, and when they open the door and invite me inside, I am met with silence. Ouch. I had to check that I was deceiving him, that I would never do such a thing. August's fingers twitch, but they slowly offer me a quick smile. I know. Okay. I think that I look so talking over the voices. Ouch. How can you imagine if you were romancing August? Fuck. I mean, it's sad enough just reading it, but hearing it, oh, ouch. I feel. I don't know. Well, luckily I already got my handy dice out. I have a D4, so odd number would go with the first one, even number would go with the second one. And it's a 4. I had to see with my own eyes. It felt like the right thing to do at the time, however painful. I understand, but I'm not sure if I could have done that myself, right? However, I trust you implicitly. Oh boy. Oh boy. We will see this through together, and I will have your back, always. Why don't you do this to me? They take a deep breath, exhaling slowly, and the tension that was present melts from their shoulders. He has Aya in a cell. There's not even a glimmer of her human form left. I see. He needs for me to take the potion he's concocted. He said that he believes me to be worthy. If someone is willing, then he's convinced that the potion will work differently. I discussed, rolling their eyes, and I've sadly since it turned into exasperation. His pride will be the death of his child, won't it? I nod. Right away. Now, obviously, there's no need to apologize to August if you didn't lie outright to Harry. So, after the bit with your love interest the night before. It jumps right to this bit here. That afternoon, we meet in the catacombs. I believe that's probably the only location in town at this point where Harry cannot have us watched. There's a growing, awkward silence between us, August frowning down at their feet with sudden intense concentration. I almost laugh at the sight of this mismatched group huddled in Finn's quarters. Finn's eyes are firmly fixed upon Piper, who unabashedly pokes and prods his belongings. She would. She picks up what I assume to be a very real human skull, staring deep into its vacant eye socket, then smirking smugly at our undead companion. Finn grins, shrugging with a cocky kind of nonchalance. That's true. Oh gosh. Yeah, Piper snort laugh. I love it. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. Piper scoffs, placing it back upon the shelf. Sure. August groans loudly. Right, can we please get on with this? I can already feel my skin cursing me for spending so much time down in this damp pit. Then they all pointedly look at me, and I realize that the floor is mine. Oh, great, thanks. Right, yes. Omen and Alcar are patrolling the woods, making sure that we know where the best spot to meet Harry will be. Ezra raises his hand, and August rolls their eyes at his politeness. How are we going to get him to come find you? And how do you know he'll have Io with him? Piper's gaze drops to the floor at the mention of her friend's name. He'll come. He means to give me his concoction and have me drink it. I'll figure that part out when I get to it, I suppose. Oh, great, so we're winging it. Yes, General. Then Piper clears her throat. I need to be the one to stop Aya. Everyone looks at her, gaze is sympathetic. Now, a part of me will always love Piper most. August wraps an arm around her shoulder and pulls her close to embrace quick but meaningful. We understand. Whatever you need. There's hints at their previous partnership before things got fucked up. Before I can respond, August steps forward. Especially once he realizes that Michelle has deceived him. You can't imagine how he'll react, but it won't be well. Finn and Ezra exchange a look, and I can feel apprehension rolling off of them in waves, but still they nod their agreement. So, I'm using myself as bait, essentially. Fun! He'll pay for what he's done. Finn scoffs, crossing his arms over his broad chest. If I've learned anything about Harry in the years I've known him, it's that he never backs down when he has his sights set on something. August sighs, worrying their bottom lip between their teeth. That thought has my skin prickling with heat, my hair standing on end. He truly will stop at nothing. James's death proved that to all of us. We'll end this, once and for all. Dun dun dun. It was funny. A couple days ago, I was in the other room, and I heard music coming from my mom's computer, and it sounded like one of the pieces in When the Night Comes, and I was really thrown because I was like, Mom doesn't play that, does she? Like when I looked, and it was for one of the videos she was watching, they were using one of the same pieces that's been used for When the Night Comes, but all of the music is reused, so it's not like they have a copyright claim on it. It's just, it was a surprise. It's dusk in Lunaris. My feet are sore, my eyes tired, and all I can think about is how much I can't wait for all of this to be over. In school, they trained us to kill monsters, and the irony of my current predicament does not escape me. Despite countless hours of training and studying, nothing could have ever prepared me to fight my greatest enemy yet, Lieutenant General of Estria. Harry is a true culprit, and it's still hard to grasp that he's the one responsible for the gruesome murders that brought me here. As I sink further into the town, the feeling of dread that's been a constant in the pit of my stomach since I arrived strangely seems to dissipate. I wander with purpose through the narrow streets, hyper-focused on the task in hand. I'm ready to ensure that this place that I've come to call my home is once again safe, and in the hands of those that truly care for it. The only thing that distracts me from such thoughts is where the sky begins to turn from purple to an inky, infinite black. I turn a corner and I'm met with a familiar sight of people moving to get inside as darkness overtakes the town. The sound of doors slamming and locking echoes off the crooked stonework. Curtains are drawn, windows closed, and then darkness. Call back to the initial arrival in the Lunaris. I thought that was an inspired touch. Although the stars are shining brightly at a glance, the crescent moon hangs low, neither offer much light. I think back to the first night I arrived and how much my life has changed since. A lump pours in my throat as I realize that I have been gifted what I haven't known since childhood: a home, a family to call my own. So many things have been taken from me, from all of us. I straighten my shoulders, taking a deep breath. No more. Then I think of Omen, of the man who, though foreign to this world, taught me so much about it, and about myself. Determination licks through my bones, and I pick up my pace, boots heavy and loud against the cobblestones. The instincts that have been ingrained in me since my initiation into the order kick in, and I know that I will win this fight. After all, I haven't lost one yet. I can feel eyes upon me, watching, waiting. So there are kind eyes, the watchful gaze of my friends and allies, tucked safely away in the thick forest. No matter how much I insisted I'd be fine alone, the stubborn bastards wouldn't take no for an answer. Of course not. They care about you. But then, so I stand and I wait. I think back to my brief time with James, and all I can hope is that I make him proud tonight. Then footsteps, rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch. And there he stands, bathed in darkness, his sharp gauntlet resting proudly atop the pommel of his sword. He smiles. Are you ready? I step closer to him and I eye his jacket, knowing that the vial rests inside. I am. He makes a show of it, his smile smug like a proud parent, knowing that this is the thing that murdered my colleagues. That by proxy murdered James. Harry sighs, gazing at me fondly as he takes my hand in his own, laying the delicate glass in my palm and closing my fingers around it. He steps away, his hand. Ooh. Which one? Okay. Still got my D4. I've actually been fiddling with it. We picked the first one, even we picked the second one. Yep, that was correct. Add a 3 for the record. Oh, button. That one. Okay, it's not doing the Twitch anymore. Okay, somehow I got disconnected from Twitch. Okay, well, the recording is still going. Okay, so technical difficulties, we're good. Okay, let's do this again. I stand firm when he strikes forward, my fingers hovering over my own weapon. I am here to end this. A manic laugh echoes around the clearing. And what? In my attempt to fix the imbalance in our world? Stop me saving humanity? I thought you better than that, Hunter Dubois. To waste such a precious opportunity. I'm disappointed. I clench my jaw, willing myself to remain calm. You didn't do shit either way. You weren't my mentor. Come on. Ben, what the heck? There we go. Then he stills, pressing his palm to his chest. The pledge, the oath that we take before consuming the poison they fed us. The words sound so empty to me now, now that I know what's become of this order. And yet you never took that oath, did you? You couldn't possibly fathom the weight that those words carry. He drops his hand back to his weapon, and he laughs again. I almost want to scoff at him, to laugh in the face of his supposed understanding. If you truly understood, you wouldn't pull this shit. He may have loved a hunter, but he killed him too. That too. He surveys me for a second, eyes narrowed, and then he inclines his head. So what now? Do you intend to kill me? What the heck? Why are you being like this? Killing me would be against your precious code, wouldn't it? I freeze at the mention of Omen, fingers tight around my weapon, my kind knuckles bleeding white. Harry notices and is pleased with himself. He pouts at me, feigning innocence when he sees the sour look I can't help but offer him. We did just fine killing your failure. He clenches his jaw. I have things to do. Let's just get this over with, shall we? I don't need to hesitate in my response. Never. Calmly, he smiles, flexing his gauntlet. A wounded noise rings out around us, something broken and terrible enough to make me want to cover my ears. The sound his sword makes as he draws it from the sheath is cutting, and the impressive weapon glows to life, emanating a bright golden light. Oh, it's a lightsaber! Mental reminder to ask August if they knew about that little surprise. He's fast, faster than I expected, and now I finally get to see the infamous prowess of Harold Addington III up close. I parry his heavy blows with relative ease, trained to anticipate every move, things far more cunning than him might make. I wonder if he's underestimated me like all enforcers do of their hunters. Well, not all. August doesn't underestimate us. Then, out of the corner of my eyes, I see her. Aya. Branches twist and snap against the weight of her misshapen frame as she pushes through the brush, her maw wide and vicious, teeth snapping as she struggles forward. Harry could catch me off guard, could see my momentary distraction as the perfect opportunity to strike me down, but he stopped, staring me down with wild eyes. I tried to remain unaffected, but confusion and anger twist in my gut. I am no monster. Harry narrows his eyes at me, fingers tight around the hilt of his sword. Ooh. With that, he lunges forward, and we begin our dance once again. I am fighting a man I do not want to kill, no matter the crimes he's committed, for I am not the monster he wants me to be. I need to subdue him, and fast, because in my peripheral vision I can see Aya lurking, and I know that Harry doesn't have any semblance of control over her. She could turn on either of us at any moment. Then, when Aya does set her crimson eyes upon Harry and me, I see daggers glint in the moonlight. Piper's daggers. Excuse me. She tears from the forest with a battle cry, heading straight for the misshapen creature. She meets each of her lazy attacks with unbidden power, and I try not to let myself become distracted by them, knowing Piper can handle it. Aya isn't one of us, not anymore. The hunter and human within her are long dead. All that remains is the husk, all thanks to the man who stands so boldly before me. I scoff, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. I see now that you long for us to fight alone because you want us to be disposable and forgettable. You called me here to turn me into a monster, but I made Lunaris my home. That must really piss you off. With clenched teeth and a growl, Harry's carefully crafted composure withers and dies as he hurls forward. He lunges, the tip of his blade pointed towards my chest, a shift to parry his attack. Within that second, however, his body pivots, and I see that the aim in his misdirection. Quick thinking on his part, but I must be quicker. Sharp steel hums at the clash of my weapon against his own, and I could feel the oppressive weight of his desperation trying to blow me down. As soon as I force him back, he strikes at me again. His attack seemed to be without pattern, like a random, unguided flurry, but in those eyes I see a man with deadly calculation. Each blow given means to take a tendon, a weak point, a place not always vital, but just enough to keep me from fighting back. Harry believes us all to be lesser, and therein lies his hubris, his weakness. I can see his confidence soar with every blow that barely finds its intended spot, and he seeks to overwhelm me. I'm continuing to enjoy letting him think he can. I cast Piper a glance when I can. The cacophony of battle all around us numbs my ears, but I can still hear her, see her, and feel the thrum of angry adrenaline coursing through her. It's not unlike my own, and like her, I trust my instincts to guide me. Purposely, I let my stride waver, become almost haggard, fearful even. I adopt a stance that tries to let the predator think he's weakening his prey, and Harry catches the bait like a moth to a flame. He smirks, another blow. Is that what you think? I thought you better than this. How disappointing. I force him back again, and though I made him believe he has the upper hand, Harry is a force to be reckoned with. He mimics the same attempt he made at the beginning, sword to chest, but this time with intent. He doesn't change his direction, and there's a renewed force behind it. The blow rattles my bones when the attack connects with my weapon, and his sword reverberates with the magic enchanted into its steel, Harry using the pressure to force me down. His concentration, all put against my weapon-wielding side, allows me an opening. Though Harry may be strong, he doesn't account for me being able to hold him back with one arm. My free hand reaches for my concealed dagger, the one given to us by the Academy during initiation, and I seek to implant it in his side. To my surprise, Harry releases one hand from the hilt of his sword, stopping the dagger before it can meet a vulnerable point between his ribs. He grimaces in pain when the dagger's edge slices against his palm, deep crimson floats on silver, and yet he still grips it with fervor. His body trembles, but he grins at me despite it all. Close. Stars flicker behind my eyes when Harry butts me. A sickening crack, and I stumble away from him, struggling to regain my footing in the dizzying haze. I barely had time to register his next attack, and the downward swing of his sword knocks my weapon from my hand. He connects a quick kick to my sternum, and I fall to the dirt. I see the man I'm supposed to call my leader, giving himself a moment to relish his triumph. He observes the dagger that bloodied his hand and huffs a tired laugh. He discards it with a shrug and walks towards me. He truly means to kill me. With renewed confidence, he swings his sword with a flourish, a fluid movement that shows his weapon is just another part of him, and now it rushes for me. I breathe deep and try to regain lucidity, but it won't be enough. Just as his blade is about to meet me, it's repelled with a brilliant flash. That haze, the smell, and that aura fills my senses, and I know exactly who it is. Harry strides backwards as August stalks forward, cracks of magic snapping at him with palpable intensity. He forces back the attacks with the enchantment upon his blade, but it can't stop the overbearing force that shocks his body each time they use their power upon him. Yeah, you go, August! I watch August gracefully turn their pain into fury, magic licking across their skin, as they wave spell after powerful spell to combat each of his would-be blows, while I regain my footing. Their bodies shake with lingering static as they finally relax, eyes aglow in the darkness. Harry spits blood, finally faltering to the onslaught, and his body gives way, falling to his knees. August then appears at my side, frantically scanning me for any injuries, but I wave them off, adrenaline still coursing violently through my veins. I'm fine. You're sure? I nod, turning my attention to Harry. He kneels in the dirt, his dusty black coat swirling around him, his right hand red with blood. His breathing is labored, but I know that we didn't harm him enough for there to be any immediate threat to his life. I glance over at the heap of blood and bones that was once their fellow hunter. Piper kneels beside her, and Ezra holds her tightly as Finn watches in silent support. I see Omen and Alcar emerge from the forest, and in the tree line, a litany of glowing red eyes. The clown. The pain and suffering in this clearing alone is enough to make me furious, enough to warrant this man's death, and yet he looks up at me with those piercing blue eyes. August rests her hand upon my arm, but I don't want to meet their gaze, afraid of what I might find. Michelle? I stare down at him, at my lieutenant general, and I remember the taste of it. The vial cold in my palm, an encouraging smile from the enforcer who handed it to me. A child so eager to please and feel loved after being taken from their family. Magic and the blood of other foreign things coursing through my body, seeping and sinking deep into my bones like an incurable infection. I said my vows and took my oath, and I became theirs. I have been faithful to their cause. All of us have, and this is where it ends. This is where I break it. Dun, dun, dun. No matter how long I live, there is one sight, sight one moment that I could never erase from my mind. Harold Addington on his knees, covered in blood, asking me, no, begging me, to end it all. My whole body trembles with the effort of my steps as I follow August into the depths of the dungeon. I'm exhausted, beaten, and bruised at the hand of the person who dragged me into this mess, the man who vowed to protect me, to protect us all. August and I do not speak. In fact, I don't think I've spoken since the enforcers burst into that clearing and grabbed their leader by his shoulders, yanking him away from my weapon. Would I have finished him had he asked again, if I had the chance? I suppose I'll never know, but the anger and hurt that I feel are stifling, almost suffocating. August pauses before me, their long fingers curled around the bars of the door that separates us from the line of cells. They take a deep, shuddering breath. I'm almost scared to look at them because I've seen them cry enough for one lifetime. When they finally do speak, their voice is quiet and strained. It's okay, August. They nod, drawing in a serrated breath and letting it out slowly. Then they push, iron scraped across the uneven stone as we enter. Every enforcer that lines the seemingly never-ending corridor stands to attention when they see August, and it's now that I've realized that with Harry chained in a cell, that they are the most senior officer in Lunaris. That thought calms me somewhat, to know that amongst all of this chaos, that we are all now in the hands of one of the people I trust the most, capable hands, even if it is temporary. The loud click of their shoes resumes as they stride past the dungeon guards with purpose, but their eyes are still down, not a trace of the usual authoritative way that they hold themselves. I follow dutifully, I have slight limp to my step, every muscle and bone in my body protesting as I move. I can feel the pull of dried blood upon my skin, not entirely sure if it's his or mine, but I know that he got more than a few hits in on me. I should probably see Ezra soon. August approaches the head guard that has stationed opposite Harry's cell. Has he been any trouble? No, General Willenheim. Lieutenant. However, he has been talking to himself. August nods at her, turning to face me and running a hand over their face, exasperated. August's steps falter as they draw near to the final cell where the man that they once viewed as something akin to a father is contained. I can hear him whispering, his voice soft and lacking the venom that it was steeped with just hours ago. I swear I hear him utter James's name. August closes their eyes, dropping their chin to their chest. They must have heard it too. Yeah. I wonder if his fallen husband is really with him, or if he's finally lost his mind. Again, August takes a deep breath and looks at me. I nod, stepping closer to show my support is unwavering and that I'm here, and we approach the bars together. Harry falls silent. He's stripped of his weapon and his enforcer attire, left in nothing but muddy trousers and a blood-stained shirt. Somehow, he still manages to look refined, even through the bruises and cuts that litter his handsome face. He sits with his back against the wall, his knees drawn tight to his chest, arms casually slung over them. The golden glint of his wedding ring catches my eye as he twists it around his finger, the sight making my chest hurt even after all that he's done. His cheeks are ruddy, the dirt and blood that is caked upon his skin streaked with tear tracks, now dried. August clears their throat and curling their hands into fists. Harry stands, the movement clearly a great effort for him. He grimaces as he straightens up, watching us watch him as he approaches the bars. His demeanor shifts into something more familiar, something hardened. You were a worthy opponent, Michelle. I haven't hurt like this in decades. I ignore him, giving August the floor. Harry curls his fingers around the bars, his face half illuminated by dull candlelight, half bathed in shadows. He looks older than I remember, tired, defeated. His eyes August, his eyes flickering over their features. August's knuckles bleed white where they continue to ball their hands, and it would appear that they don't have a response for him. I step forward as close as I can without the worry that Harry might try something stupid that would result in him receiving a broken arm. And what about me? Am I a murderer? Harry smiled smugly. Just because you're a monster doesn't mean I am. He sighs, leaning forward and pressing his face between the bars. I did listen. I turned you down. I still don't understand what you hope to achieve. After all of your failures, the lack of control you had over those beasts. Harry chuckles, pouting. Ooh. Magic skitters across your skin for the briefest moment, a flash of indigo that lights up the dark space that surrounds us. Harry doesn't flinch, doesn't so much as blink. August turns to me, their expression softening. Thanks. They pause, and then we walk away from him, leaning against the wall that separates his cell and the next. They're out of his sight, but I can see them clear as day. I look at my friend, at my enforcer. I almost loathe to be the one to make this decision, but August deserves a reprieve from this. I nod at them, and her smile fades. The one that I called here to serve as my greatest creation is the one who finally decides my fate. Beautiful, I suppose. It's all coming full circle. So, yeah, Harry fully intended to do that to turn us into a monster. But didn't happen. Thank goodness. I watched the ball of his throat as he swallowed, his eyes fixed upon me, and only me. Okay. Um. Normally, I every time I've given him the trial, I've never condemned him to life imprisonment. But let's see what the dice says. We go with the first one, even we go with the second one. It's odd. 3. Oh boy, I've never done this one. I can truly see no option where everyone wins. If I sentence him to die, I'm as bad as him. He killed people, yes, and his actions are unforgivable, but to kill him would be a crime in itself. It is not only something that my name would forever be associated with, but something that would hurt August. I find myself thinking of James too, who wanted Harry brought to justice. He would not want harm to come to him. Not now we have him. I'm sure we'll have to come up with some story about why the widely loved Lieutenant General of Estria has stepped down from his post. Having to explain why his head is no longer attached to his body would be a little trickier. To tell the people what he's done would only scare them, and they are scared enough by the inhuman things that walk the earth that we're sworn to protect them from. We need them to trust us, not to think that the ones who guard them can hurt them too. If you remain in chains for the rest of your life, you will get no trial and no chance to explain or redeem yourself. Out of the corner of my eye, I see August turning and walking away. I listen to the echo of their steps getting quieter as they disappear before I look at Harry again. Harry looks at me as though he's almost disappointed. Is that it? I gather that you want me to kill you if what you said back in the clearing is anything to go by. I will not give you that. I will not give you what you wish for. Instead, you will live a miserable life of solitude. Maybe I'll give you a chance to think about all the things you've done. I turn away from him, letting myself to walk out of these dungeons and never see his face again. We all have to live with the consequences of your actions. So shall you. As I begin to move away, I hear a loud bang, fists hitting metal, and maniacal laughter. A sound that follows me long after I push open the exit door and feel cold air upon my face. I find August in their office standing before the window that overlooks Lunaris. The town is peaceful at this hour. The townsfolk tuck safely in their beds. I quietly approach, almost not wanting to disturb them. You did so well, Michelle. Yeah. 1 second. I spilled my drink. Luckily, it didn't spill too badly. Isn't that big a mess, thank goodness. My hand was right there. This is fine. I think I got everything. Whereas, the answer to that is finish my drink. Okay. I missed them. Thing is, it's soda, but it's not dark soda, so it's hard to tell sometimes. Okay, now I got everything. Impossible, Lieutenant. August grimaces, but I see a smile curling at the corner of their lips. You underestimate yourself. That would be a crime in itself. You've done more for Lunaris than Harry ever did. You will do more. The smile is genuine, but the look is exhausted as I feel. Though, scared I should have checked you over. You look downright pasty. Yes, you're right. I reach for the handle of the door, pausing before I step outside. Good night, August, and thank you for everything. I smile again, turning back to look over their town. All I can think about as I step outside is that there's still so much to be done. So, with the adrenaline leaving me, I'm beginning to feel lightheaded and leaden from the exertion. Madly, that strikes me as funny somehow. After all that, after the fear and the pain from being fed that concoction and turned into something halfway toward the abomination that had become as Harry's victims, I'm still so frail, aren't I? So frail that even this hurts. I stumble. That in itself is nothing unusual, but the hard surface I vaguely know to be there and reach out to lean up against, I miss, and I feel my guts clench as the ground rushes up to meet me. Strong arms wind around me, under my arms, pulling me up, and they keep me there effortlessly. Omen's presence fills my senses, as it often does, this rolling press of demonic aura, and his fear, his concern, so fierce, just for me. Hello, lover. Hi. I'm glad you're okay, Miss Shane. I let out a small, breathless sigh. I don't feel that alright, all things said. My entire body is aching now, and my limbs feel like they weigh 20 stone each. I don't think Omen is lying or putting it lightly, as he gently lowers me to the ground and holds my face with his hands. I honestly believe it could have been a lot worse. We got him. We got the bastard. And now we have to figure out where to go from here and how to go about it. The words fall through my throat, mostly because it's nothing but a jumble of thoughts still. I gnaw on my lip, then stop as Omen's warm ones press a kiss to the corner of my mouth. It's a small, tender thing, enough for a distraction. His tail winds around my arms, an anchor. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Of course he is. It's Ezra. I grimace. I do feel bad, honestly. Most of these recent times whenever I show up at Ezra's is to bring trouble to his porch. But my injuries demand to be seen, and people deserve answers. I know that much. No question here. I wind my arms around Omen's neck and pull him down and kiss him, taste him, the taste I've missed so much in this short time. Omen holds me tightly, his body temperature almost unbearably hot. I can't shake the feeling of being against something much bigger, much more monstrous in my mind's eye. But his unmistakable presence is enough. I'm sorry. Don't. Don't apologize. You can't control what someone does in reaction to something you did. I look at Omen and his eyes soften. I can see his face because his skin glows ever so slightly in the dim, his form blurry, his hair trailing off in wisps of gray. Omen inclines his head and sinks to his knees next to me, holding my hand. He doesn't say anything for a long minute. I lean my head on his shoulder, hoping this is enough. Thank you. You're welcome. I love you. He smiles so wide his eyes slip closed. That's sweet. Slowly, Omen rises. He pulls me to my feet and throws my arm over his shoulder, and we limp along towards Ezra's. Towards Sanctuary. Okay. I can feel someone watching me. Or something. I smile, eyes still closed. Good morning. I hear a quiet laugh, and a warm finger runs down over my nose, traces the curve of my lips. A kiss is pressed to my cheek, breath sweet against my skin. Ah. I turn on my pillow and find wise chestnut brown eyes staring back at me. He's fully dressed already, which is a bit of a disappointment, but the sight of him in my bed never fails to brighten my day. He catches me a little off guard, and I pause as I think it over for a moment, my mind going blank. Am I afraid? Today I'm going to stand in front of Lunaris and find people who view me as a hero in front of my found family, and I'm going to become Lieutenant General of Espria. Well, of the Hunters, anyway, because we've made some changes. Okay. So usually I pick Terrified, but we're going to let the dice pick. So I have a d6, so 1 or 4, just a little. 2 or 5, not at all. 3 or 6, Terrified. 6. I take a deep breath because, shit, that's a lot of responsibility, isn't it? Between August, Piper, and I, we basically reformed the agency, or at least we started to, with very little support from the faceless higher-ups. We're got their help. Why are you being slow? Come on. Come on. I just want to do a good job, to do right by all the people like me who've had their lives messed with. Omen continues to assess me, his brow furrowed, but then he smiles. The way he says it, almost like he knows this for certain. He takes my hand and squeezes it tightly. Another reassurance. I wonder if he does know if that's part of what makes him Omen. And then I feel strangely relaxed all of a sudden. I see. Oh, Omen. Sweetheart? I let his words sink in, let the warmth of his skin sink bone deep, and I exhale. Today's the day. Of course we're gonna kiss him. His unrelenting gaze starts to make me feel hot, a tickling awareness that runs throughout my entire body. A smile hooks the corner of his pretty mouth, and as if he's read my mind, he leans in and captures my lips with a kiss. I let myself get lost in it, in the taste of him, chocolate, of course, and let everything else melt away around us. His hair is silk soft when I sink my fingers into it, and trace the tips of his pointed ears, his jewelry clinking quietly and filling the blissful silence. His eyes are hooded when he pulls away, but just an inch, close enough for me to see the glimmer of fire in his eyes. You must leave. I nod, clearing my throat, trying and miserably failing to gather my composure. That I do, regretfully. He laughs, brushing my nose with his own, another kiss of sorts. Yeah, that's called an Eskimo kiss, where you brush noses with someone. I assume because it would have been too damn cold to properly kiss someone. Though my head is relatively clear, I decide to go for a little walk. I've been back to the scene of my clash with Harry a few times now, mainly because I hope that I might get to speak to James again, or maybe just have a sign that he's still here, that he's okay. I think of him often, and I believe he was there with me that night, a lingering presence that pushed me to win, to not give up. I still can't help but wonder what he thinks of Harry now. Was he really there in that cell, talking to him on that day? Or maybe he's finally passed over from whatever in between he was stuck in. I hope. It's summer in Lunaris now, but there's still a chill in the air, and the grass is crisp beneath my boots as I walk into the clearing. Maybe it's just the passing of seasons, but it feels like life is breathing back into the small town. Everything feels easier. Harry still resides in the dungeon beneath Lunaris, serving out his sentence in the place he tried to destroy, amongst people he tried to ruin. Long gone are the enforcers who assisted him, regardless of if they claimed to have been coaxed or threatened into helping. There are no excuses for what they did. I'm yet to visit him again. Maybe I never will, but I know August has a few times. They pity him, I think, even after everything. I don't question them on it. Yeah, best to leave that be. I take a deep breath, crouching down to press my fingers to the still scorched earth. Apparently, things don't grow back if they've been touched by August's magic. I decide that this is the last time I'll come here. It feels freeing. On my way to visit Ezra, I decide to stop by the Ibex to check in with our favorite creepy duo. Aurora has laid low since Harry's downfall. She was really thoroughly disappointed that I didn't succumb to Safara's plan and turn into an unidentifiable monstrosity. Maybe she would have thought it charming, or maybe even wanted to date me. Not at all stranger and unnerving. I walk close to dais, the air a little warmer here than I remember, the sun shining through the cracked windows illuminating the lectern. There stands Armoros, as coy as ever, and quite obviously making a point to avoid my eye contact and hope that I'll not notice him, I assume. Enter Dubois. Hello, Armoros. He takes a deep breath and steps into the aisle, his hands clasped politely in front of him. Can I help you with anything? I shrugged, not really knowing why I'm here. I was just passing by. Is Aurora about? His mouth twists, his pale blue eyes darting to the side. Considering his sister is so very good at not giving anything away, Armoros has absolutely no subtlety about him. She left. Left? Left where? He tilts his head, making eye contact. Left Lunaris. I see. Any particular reason? He sighs and gestures for me to follow him. We sit in the pews in the first row, and Armoros leans back, tipping his head and gazing up at the dome's ceiling. I imagine it was so beautiful here once. Then he sits up, fixing his jacket and frowning, twisting slightly to face me. I've dutifully followed my sister my whole life, you know. We lost our parents to vampires at 14, but even before then, Aurora was fascinated by creatures. She would sneak out at night and seek them out in their graveyard behind our estate. You can't lose count of how many times I saved her, always dragging her out of the way of claws or teeth. They didn't try to kill you? Your parents? He shakes his head, looking down at his hands where they rest in his lap. They didn't get the chance. Winters came not long after they rose from their graves. Aurora was there. She saw everything. She truly believed that they wouldn't have harmed her. So that's where Aurora's resentment for us came from. I almost pity her. Almost. You never seemed to be on board with her beliefs, so I continued to follow her. Amaranth laughed. It's a pleasant sound, and he looked like a different man, lighter somehow. I've never had anyone else. I love my sister Michelle. Despite her eccentricities, I never wanted any harm to come to her. I'm a patient man, and I would follow her to hell and back if required. But, he laughs again. Ah, yes, but. I've always wanted my own life. I have that now with Elaine. His pale cheeks turn bright pink the second her name leaves his lips. It's adorable. It is. You're in love with her. He nods, his mouth growing into a soft smile. I'm going to ask her to marry me. I'm going to ask Satan's daughter to marry me. I called my sister, and she fled town. I can't help but laugh, but I feel impossibly rude the second the noise erupts. I cover my mouth with my hand, but Armoros is laughing too. You'd think she'd be thrilled to have the Princess of the Hells as her sister-in-law, wouldn't you? You would, yes, but then my sister's always been full of surprises. She'll be back, though. We've never been apart for more than a day or two at most. I think she's just reassessing her life and her choices. Hopefully. Well, I'm happy for you, Armoros. Just please don't start trying to terrorize our nice, newly peaceful town, okay? He blushes again and nodding as if I wasn't joking. Well, I kind of wasn't, I guess. I swear it. We both turn at the sound of the entrance doors creaking open, and there stands Elaine, silhouetted by sunlight. I look at Armoros and the way his face lights up, at the way he quickly stands and brushes non-existent dust from his trousers and tucks his blonde hair behind his ears. Michelle, it's lovely to see you. The demon offers me a curtsy and smiles sweetly, her brown eyes flickering curiously between Armoros and me. She must sense his mood and places a delicate hand upon his arm, which he immediately covers with his own. Where is Aurora, Army? Well, I decided that's my cue to give them some privacy. Oh, yes. The news that Aurora fled will be startling, but I imagine his proposition will be even more so. Indeed. My water bottle is making weird noises. I have to go. I need to prepare for tonight. Ambrose nods in silent thanks. I wish you will. Please stop by any time, won't you? An olive branch. Maybe that's the start of a new relationship between us and whatever is left of the Ibex. I'm interested to see what it will become under Armorous' lead. Or if it will become anything at all. Goodbye, and congratulations. Omen tells me that you're transforming later. New beginnings and forms are always wonderful. I successfully smile, assuming that both she and Omen still have the wrong idea about what the ceremony entails. I do hope he isn't disappointed when I don't sprout wings. Thank you, Elaine. Armoros? I feel their eyes upon me as I leave. Though for the very first time, I feel it isn't eye of scrutiny, but like with the slight peace they need before excited anxiety blooms between two lovers. When I step into the street, Omen immediately appears, whipping around to face me. His movement so sharp I have to step back and raise my hands warily. I have no doubt he would never hurt me, but still, it is slightly startling. Not that it takes words or even my senses to see the demon prince is well rattled. There is a sharp pinch to Omen's brow, a flame whisk trail at his hair. Noticing me staring though, some of that fades away. Omen smiles sheepishly. Sorry. A respectful distance away, Alcor snorts and straightens from where he has been leaning against the wall. He gingerly pats Omen on the back. It's fine. Are you all right? Part of me wonders if it's another earth-shattering problem about to roll into town. I'm definitely not fucking ready for that. It would certainly be poetic to have my promotion crash right here, right now, but I don't want to get caught between the next big thing and August rage if the ceremony is postponed. My unease must have been evident, because even as Omen opens his mouth to answer, Alcor laughs. Elaine's getting married. What? Amorous plans to do that thing mortals do. Propose. Yes. Oh, that. It occurs to me then that maybe Elaine had been speaking to Omen about it before she arrived at the Ibex. Clearly, he's not half as excited about the prospect as either Amorous or his sister. Omen wrings his hands together. I'm not sure how I feel when I realize he's more worried than angry. She'll say yes. This is a very exciting thing for her, I'm sure, to enter sort of contract with a human. But humans are not good with promises. Not to say you're not, Michelle. Behind him, Alcor rolls his eyes fondly and shakes his head. He places a hand on Omen's shoulder, reassuring me, and I do the same on the other shoulder. I give Omen a solemn nod, because honestly, it's man's honor that I vouch for Amorous at least a little. Elaine is in good hands, Omen. Good, careful hands and heart. I haven't forgotten the sliver of her true power she permitted me to glimpse in the Ibex that day. I have a feeling Amorous knows exactly what he's dealing with. Amorous is no fool and would never undervalue an oath or a pact. In fact, I'm sure he's well aware of what he's getting into. I lower my voice and lean closer. After all, I am. Omen blinks. Then he sucks in a deep breath and lets it out, shoulders drooping. I'm sorry, it's a big shaken. Glances at Alcor uncertainly. He purses his lips in thought. Big shocker. Yes. But don't mistake my alarm for unhappiness or disapproving. Maybe this is the best way. Elaine and I shared many things. Our histories, our lives, our souls once. But it's rare for her to engage with mortals as I do. Omen frowns at me, inclining his head. But I take it you'll watch them. Yes. There's little use lying about it. Shrewd as it is to say, I am glad that the Princess of Hell decided to pick a man right under our eyes to involve herself with. And not just in our own defense. We live by our blades, but living is so much more than killing and dying. This peace we forged together, I want to preserve it. Michelle will be watching all of us. And honestly, I think you've got your work cut out for you, Lieutenant General. I'm not Lieutenant General yet. Now that's a thought, though I'm sure you're glad that isn't the case. She had done fine. She cares about this town and its stupid problems more than she makes it sound like. We'd all have been here anyway, eh? Alcor nudges Omen, and the demon blinks and shudders as though waking from a dream. There's a shift in the air around him that I notice. Same sense of movement, like when somebody snatches back their hand. You were talking with Elaine? Yes. He sighs and wrings his hands together again. She wants my thoughts on things. I need to talk to her as soon as possible. Immediately. He stares into the distance and clasps his hand over Alcor, still resting on it on his shoulder after all this time, and slips away. I'll see you later, okay? He sketches a short but graceful bow, then walks briskly to the nearest alleyway. I shake my head as his presence retreats with supernatural speed. As soon as he's gone, Alcor chuckles. But Jenny thinks Elaine's going to rope him into helping her pick color things for the wedding. Good for her. And my entire department will have a meeting tomorrow on how to handle this goddamn beloved miraculous town chock full with wonders such as not one, but two powerful demons, among other things, one of whom is going to get married to a human, one that runs home the cult against our kind. Fucking Lunaris. You can imagine how not happy Longest will be to hear about it, but what can you do? What can our Lieutenant General do indeed? I look up to see Algar watching me. His smirk only widens into a grin, though, and climbs his head, wolf ears twitching. Get going before Wilhelm tears down half the town looking for you for being 10 minutes late. Oh, most certainly. See you later, Algar. Aye, aye, General. Algar walks backwards until he too disappears the way Omen went, giving me one last aching grin and the ever-endearing half-arsed wave. As the shop is busy, a line of townsfolk impatiently waiting outside. I decide to sneak in the back door to avoid unavoidable conversations. In the kitchen, I find Finn and Alcar arm wrestling. I literally just saw you. Alcar quickly turns his head and frowns at me. How did you get here so fast? He ignores me, concentrating too hard on making sure Finn doesn't snap his arm off, I assume. I roll my eyes and pull up a chair, smirking as I watch Alcar's arm shake. Finn quirks one of those dark brows at me and winks. He always insists I use my prosthetic. Silly of him, don't you think? Alcar growls, his face turning beet red with the effort. Shut up, mosquito man. I'd win in a second if you used your normal one. Finn and I share a knowing look seconds before he slams Alcar's fist into the table, the fine china upon it clinking loudly with the force. There might even be a dent in the wood from the impact. 4-0. Want to go again? He wiggles his iron fingers, the magic in them flickering teasingly. Then Ezra appears, his arms folded across his chest, and I don't think I've ever seen Finn move so fast. Go ruin the furniture in the tavern. Oh, really? I do wonder why. He pointedly looks at the ridge in his lovely little table, then back between the wolf and the vampire. Alcar huffs and puffs, sliding down in his chair and crossing his arms. Finn sidles up to Ezra, grinning as he reaches for his face. Uh-huh. Ezra narrows his eyes at him, his body language betrays him as he greedily leans into the vampire's touch. Finn presses a kiss to his cheek, and Ezra can no longer stifle his smile. He turns his face and lets Finn capture his lips in a quick kiss. Alcar groans, making loud retching noises as he stands, his chair scraping across the tiled floor. Finn throws him a deathly glare that makes him wither as I stand to address Ezra. Seems busy. Do you need any help? He quickly shakes his head. No, you have enough going on today. Go. I'll be fine. He gives Alcar one final cursory glance before he parts the lavender curtain and disappears. Don't you two actually have somewhere better to be? They look at each other and shrug at exactly the same time, Alcar waltzing over and prodding Finn's chest with his thumb. Finn swats him away and growls, which only seems to egg Alcar on. I actually do have somewhere to be. So sorry, but I can't babysit you. His tail swishes behind him as he makes for the door, sending Finn scrambling into the corner, away from the sunlight that streams through the gap. Later, Pratt. I tilt my head and grin at him. Do you actually have somewhere to be? He smiles. Will it have buttons? After answers, I headed home to get changed into my new uniform. I've never had to wear one before. I suppose I don't now, but I want to show people who I am and what I do, to show them that I'm here to protect them but I am proud to do so. August decided to redesign her sash. Its blue to represent stability, trust, wisdom, and, most importantly, loyalty. So, as the wax of Lunaris fades in black, gold, and sky blue, I feel a sense of renewal, of change, and pride. There are people setting up outside headquarters for the ceremony. Hunters and enforcers pour out of every room as I head down the corridor towards August's office, all of them with smiles plastered on their faces. I gently tap on the door, and it immediately swings open. Piper is standing there grinning at me, dressed in her new uniform. Whoa. Piper snorts and does a little spin, showing off. You like it? I step inside, closing the door behind me. You look amazing, General. Then I see August. Oh, shit. They appear from behind their desks, and suddenly I feel horribly underdressed. You both look incredible. You too, Lieutenant. Yeah, so let's just take a moment to appreciate the view here. You gorgeous people. So jealous. They got shirts of paper set on their desk. Shall we? Piper rests her elbows on her knees and her chin on her hands. She squints down at the pages of elegant script. August and I share a look. They seem upset over knowing what things Piper disagrees with, and I know that I don't exactly feel much excitement over it either. I speak before they get the chance. So, it's about the initiation. I'm sorry, I can never go with the first option. We cannot continue to mutate innocence. We need to find a new way to defend Estria. August glares at me, but I continue. Would I have known what they were doing to me, I would have refused. They sit in their chair and run their hand over their face, tapping a finger against their lips. If Harriet could find a way to manipulate it, then we can find a way to as well. We both look at her like she's lost the plot. She hushes. How? Wouldn't they have already done that? I bursts out laughing. August finally stops tapping her lip and raises their brow at her. She's right. There must be another way. Piper, clearly ready to violently refute whatever they say, sits slack-jawed. You agree with me? August shrugs. Yay. I agree. We're fighting a war and must do whatever we can to ensure our survival, but that doesn't mean we should sacrifice our humanity to do so. With that, August sits down and pulls a clean piece of parchment from their drawer. They pick up their quill and begin to write. When they're finished, the three of us sign it, and a new role is born. We will do whatever we can to leave behind the barbaric ways of our predecessors. Piper rubs her hands together almost greedily. I'm beginning to think she's lying about me, liking this diplomatic bullshit. She's good at it, too. Now, our second task. Can't blame them, really. Harry was out there kidnapping and killing even the good ones. Michelle, what do you think? There's no question about it when it comes to our relationship with the creatures. We have to do everything we can to fix the fractures Harry caused. As you said, they're essential. Then I paused, carefully considering my next words. Have you ever thought about having creatures working within the agency? They both stare at me like I've lost my fucking mind, just as I expected them to. You were saying we should somehow shove some lycans and some demons in our uniform and off they pipe? You're mental. August says nothing, just keeps staring at me. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there are creatures out there who want peace just as much as we do. Creatures who have enough power to actually convince others of their kind to either join us or leave us alone. A representative, maybe, not a new branch, just creature relations, someone to be our liaison when required. Piper looks like her eyes are going to pop out of her skull, and she has them so wide. She doesn't sound angry, just tired. I get it. It's not ideal, I know, but if we can find other ways to lessen the attacks on our kind, then why the hell not? We just put strict rules in place to make sure that they have too much to lose if they betray us. August eyes Piper, who's fallen strangely silent. I think she knows that this will be good for us, despite her personal views on the matter. She nods. I'll sign. August offers her a small smile and picks up their clothes. We all sign once again, ready to tackle our final conflict. Now we discuss you. Both of you. Piper and I share a glance as she sits a little straighter in her chair. I think that sometimes Piper truly does forget how important August is about to become. You know. They both look at her. They look at her, tilting their head in question. Oh, that's sweet. August's expression softens. They almost look like they might cry, or at least think about crying. I had no idea you felt that way. Piper scuffs her boots on the floor, looking anywhere but at August. Yeah, well, after everything that happened, I blocked it out. I'm sorry, Piper, about all of it. Take those decisions out of the hands of those who value bureaucracy above all else, into the hands of the ones who are literally created to know how to save lives. Within reason, yes. I need to say this a little more carefully. It's complicated, and I'll value both your inputs. Piper grins at me. Yes, well, it's a fresh start. Now, should we go? They'll be waiting for us. August stands and fixes their uniform, fiddling with the end of their braid. They're nervous. August, you have nothing to worry about. Just don't want to let anyone down. Her shadow lingers over me. No, it doesn't. None of them know what he did, and they won't either. As far as they're concerned, this is the natural progression, and it is. Despite all that Harry did, it would still be you standing up there if he stood down gracefully. Piper creeps closer and rests her hand upon August's shoulder. Michelle is right. You deserve this, and I can't imagine it being anyone else. August inhales, then exhales sharply. Let's go. It passes in a blur. We're almost done. I watched Piper get her title back, the highest ranking hunter in Lunaris, after me. She smiles the whole time, staring out into the crowd as they cheer for her. She's given extra honors for her involvement in the Harry investigation. None of these people who clap and grin for us know what really happened, but they don't care. I got something. All they care is that they're safe. I step up to the podium and listen to August talk, but it feels like I'm underwater, like everything's muffled and far away. A few weeks ago, when I was told that I'd been offered this position, August pulled me aside and asked if I wanted the responsibility. And I asked them, why me? I expected them to shrug and respond with, why not? but they didn't. They said that Harry targeted me for a reason, for my stats and my kill count, but August began to see from the moment we started working together that Harry had it all wrong, that I'm so much more than the strength I have and the lives I take, and that Harry never accounted for all of the human parts of me, that I'm determined, that I want to fight to survive, even when the odds are stacked against me, that I am human above all else, despite the inhuman blood that runs through my veins. So, as August pins that badge to my coat and ties my sash around my waist, I remember those words, and I smile and wave at the gathered crowd, swearing to protect them no matter what. I see familiar faces out there, Finn, Ezra, Alcar, Raven, and Lex. Even Edna left the wolf to grimace at me from afar. I've made Lunaris my home somehow, after never really having one before. Inevitably, irresistibly, my feet carry me back to the dilapidated temple in the middle of town. The ibex looms cold and silent as I ascend its stone steps, but the chapel beyond its doors is not empty. I can sense him with ease even from a distance away, now that Omen is no longer hiding. If I close my eyes, he is like a flame in the dark, so bright, yet waiting for me. A part of my mind wonders humorously why I am so unafraid of going into an enclosed space alone with one of the most powerful demons I have ever faced. The reason comes quick, however, as Omen turns from where he's been examining the stained glass window on the dais, and our eyes meet, and he smiles. Big. His gladness washes over me like the pleasant heat of a fireplace on a cold night, and grinning, I stride to close the distance between us. Omen meets me halfway in a hug, then a kiss on my jaw, his fingers hot where they rest on the back of my neck. His eyes are soft, if searching. I snort incredulously, glancing at the dark sky beyond the window. This isn't early. Right enough. Your circadian rhythm. I forget how it's pronounced. I squeeze my arms around his waist, and his tail curls around my thigh as he presses closer. I hear the smallest throat clear and look up, reluctantly letting Omen go. It's just a little, and glare into the shadow where Amorose's pale face stares back. Omen laughs as Amorose shakes his head and disappears again, probably to kiss his demon paramour. He twines his fingers around mine and leads me up to the dais, where more brimstone lilies have grown from the cracks in the stones, glowing red. I eye the altar and the dais warily, but Omen leans on the former without any reservations. So after a moment, I give up and do the same. Our shoulders touch as we stare up at the window and the weak moonlight flooding in, a glimpse of the night beyond. What, the whole mess with the hunters? But Omen shakes his head, and when he turns to to me, there's something odd about how he looks. Blurry at the edge, fraying. There's a silhouette of horns and fire where a portion of his face is cast in shadows. And I noticed, somehow, the first time, he speaks without moving his lips. He doesn't speak my language either, but something else, something both strange and familiar, carrying the comfort of a conversation I've been invited into. The demon's tongue. It was a two-person job. Thank you for trusting me. Omen blinks slowly, then smiles. Omen leans down, plucking a few brimstone lilies and holding them delicately in his hand. They glow ever brightly still, so bright they almost hurt my eyes. He stares at them wistfully, then turns to me and smiles. There have been times when worshippers of small faiths around the country tell me of their gods and beliefs, how they're embraced by the divine and cherished. Sometimes I thought it was all lies concocted to help people sleep at night. Sometimes I hoped for their sake and mine that it was true. In Omen's eyes, I see something akin to what those prayers for love describe. We're not the same. I feel that rich in the things that we are, and I see it in the silhouette he casts, the shadow of many more eyes. But his smile, the size of his face the moon illuminates, the affection that fills the room like a physical presence. It isn't a rift, but a canyon through which there is a bridge. I take Omen's hand and kiss his knuckles. Then he presses his palm to my face. I want to say something, for precious few words can I find in the face of something that loves me, loves the mortal and somewhat fucked up being that I am, so overwhelmingly. Omen tucks some of the flowers he holds behind my ear, clumsily. They aren't as actually hot as their glow suggests, and he chuckles in embarrassment when some of them fall off anyway. The judge makes it more adorable. He's speaking my tongue again, his accent thick and endearing. I love you, Omen. Da-da-da! And that's the end. But there's more to come. Okay, so that's it for today. Just because I need a break. Next week we will do the mini stories. So as you can see, the first one is unlocked, but we are saving that for next week. And then once we finish this one, the next one will be unlocked. And once we finish this one, the last one will be unlocked. So you have to do them in that order. So that all the Omen, not all but one of the Omen CGs has been unlocked. This one will be unlocked when we do the DLCs, the extras, the mini stories, I should say. And we unlocked this one. So, okay. Yeah, so that's it for today. I will be back on Wednesday with the first demo for Call Me Under. But for now, we are done. So have a good rest of your week. Take care, everyone.